Hi, I'm Paula Doyle and I'm going to show you about how to tie a quilt by machine. This particular log cabin quilt that I have in front of me has been what I call machine tied instead of being quilted. All these little colored dots are basically a little bit of satin stitching that I've done on the machine, and I'm going to show you how I did that using this sandwich over here that I have under my machine. Basically, wherever I wanted to tie the quilt, I started first of all with pulling the thread from the bobbin up. So I'm just going to pull that bobbin thread up so that I can control it. Then I started with a back stitch. So I'm just going to a reverse stitch. So I'm just going to go ahead and get my reverse stitch going. Okay. Oh, that wasn't the reverse stitch. Never mind. I'll figure it out. I'm just going to put it back a little bit there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a nice satin stitch. So about a 4 on the width, but down to about a quarter or a half, a 0.25 or a 0.5 on the stitch length. And I'm just going to do a little square of that satin stitch. After I do that, I have my needle at one side of that square, and then I just do a small straight stitch. So I'm just going to bring my width down to 0, and I'm going to do a back stitch just at the edge of that square. And then, without cutting my thread, I move to the next location where I want to have a little bit of a tie. So I'm going to move over here, for example, and I'm going to start again. So back stitch with a nice small stitch, switch to a zigzag, so same width, but you're going and making a square, and then you're going to switch back to a back stitch and a straight stitch. So just to lock it in, lift the needle, lift the presser foot, move on to the next location, go backwards, switch to a zigzag stitch, and then go forwards, creating a square, then back to a straight stitch, and go backwards again. And you can see that what you've created is a little series of squares or rectangles, and all you're going to do next is clip the threads between those, first on the front and then on the back of the quilt. And you can do that to machine tie your quilts. What you want to do when you machine tie or when you quilt it is you want to follow the old rule of thumb that if you put your hand down, you should have some quilting in. And so what I did with this quilt is I stitched all of one color first. So I stitched all the orange first and then snipped the threads. And then I went and stitched all the red and the blue and so on using some machine embroidery threads. And my rule of thumb was if I put my hand down, I had to have at least one of those little machine ties underneath that. And that will hold your quilt sufficiently without having to quilt it.